namaskars and pranams to all my seniors from the IDA South Zone, and also my regards to all the students and my colleagues who have joined in here. It's been, I should take this opportunity to thank the IDA Tamilnadu chapter chairman, Sri Ramamurthy ji, and vice chairman, Sri Khanna sir, the secretary, Sri Saravanan, and of course, my friend Dr. Rajarajan for having me here and giving me this opportunity to deliberate in this pandemic through online. I may also take a few minutes to just insist on saying that this me being affected too, this pandemic, this is an unprecedented pandemic. But I'm sure, though the corona is and its implications are looming large, I'm sure we do all our best to overcome this. Let's move ahead with a lot of confidence and also hope for a better future, for a better tomorrow. And I also insist, because it's out of my own personal experience, that I tell you, please maintain the 2 feet or definitely distance from whomever you talk to. You never know where the virus is. Also mask up and highly sanitize, because your life is very, very precious when you really come to know it. Okay, I hope you all have a very safe lockdown. Stay home to be safe. Thank you so much. So with this, I would like to go to my lecture per se, which is on antibiotics, residues in milk. That's the first part. After which I will be going to the aflatoxin part. Shall I start presenting? I think there's some problem when I go to the slide mode, so I might as well go with this mode if it's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the topic antibiotic residues in milk has been there and it's been deliberated for quite some decades. It's nothing new, and I'm sure everybody must be aware of this, the incidence of antibiotics, its residues in milk. So there's nothing new. We are going to discuss it, but we're going to go in brief and really understand what are the importance of this in human health and also in daily processing. Well, the discovery of antibiotics was in the late 1940s, and that was a kind of a cornerstone, because there were lots of antibiotics coming, and it was a boon to human health and also to livestock. Well, we started using antibiotics rampantly, and this wide, prevalent, and rampant use also has its own implications. So they found the residues slowly entering into the food system, whether it's food animals in the form of meat, fish, or also milk. Now, whenever a component is consumed, it gets metabolized either by the hepatic system or the renal system, and it gets shed out. And if it's a lactating animal, it's more so through the milk. So there were a lot of residues being detected, and the cause of concern was a couple of things. The most important one was there were a lot of teratogenic effects, there were a lot of anaphylactic effect, allergic effect, hypersensitivity effect noted.
Ma'am, sorry for the intervention.
Yeah.
Ma'am, your voice is not clear, ma'am. You kindly adjust your audio.
Are you able to hear me?
Now it is okay, ma'am. Earlier it was breaking. You hold it, ma'am. Okay. You hold it close.
Okay. Okay. You can see me then? Okay. Am I clear now?
Now okay, ma'am.
Okay. So these
yeah, now it is okay. Just come closer to the computer, then it will be all right.
I think that slides are not being displayed.
I've gone to the next slide.
Yes.
Hello, can you? Is my slide moving?
No, the slide is not.
Presentation is closed, ma'am. I think it got unshared. You have to share again.
Can you see it now? Is it seen?
And now it is presenting.
Okay, I'm in the first
Yes,
slide, now I'm in the
yes.
second slide. Yeah. So, this antibiotics residues started slowly gaining importance in the form of, I was telling you earlier, as hypersensitivity, allergic reaction, certain carcinogenic effect, and also as antimicrobial resistant drugs and bacteria being developed, which we call as super bugs. The bacteria which develops antimicrobial resistance. Well, this is one of the global threats because we have an arsenal of drugs being used by which we are going to see, like what is aim. Now, when it comes to milk and milk products, I don't have to give anyone an introduction of that. It's consumed globally, from the elders to the infants, all the vulnerable groups. It is supposed to be one of the best source of casein. The biological value is as high as 84. The whey protein biological value is as high as 104. You have a plethora of nutrients. You have an abundant supply of calcium. But in as much as it has a whole array of nutrients, it also becomes a potent vehicle for many of the pathogens and also for contaminants, also for residues. Because if you're going to treat animals or lactating cows, let me say, with antibiotics, you're going to definitely find in all its excretion and secretion, which includes lacteal secretion. So the most widely antibiotic which we use in veterinary practices is well for therapeutic, for prophylactic, and also as growth promoters. But now we don't use much of it. Therapeutic, yes, there are a lot of diseases which affect livestock, and we've got to address it directly. Though it's been a big boon to the livestock industry, the rampant use of these veterinary drugs have also had its own implications, especially in case of the production when a farmer has somewhere about 405 to 1,500 rupees of economic loss as per statistics for one lactation. You can just imagine the amount of loss he will face if his animals were to suffer with mastitis. So then, just to overcome this, he immediately goes in for some treatment, which in this circumstances, the best one is antibiotics. So that becomes a therapy. Now for prophylactic, again, we have a lot of drugs which we give to prevent the onset of any diseases. Now there too, if we are not going to use, without keeping in touch with the concerned authorities, we might contribute in getting their residues in the milk or the food system. So the FSSA has defined these residues as products which have a similar pharmacological and a pharmacokinetic effect as the parent. In short, it sort of mimics the work or the principle or the entire mode of action of the parent. So if it has got any action as that of the parent, that particular substance which you find in the milk is called a residue of the drug. So do you think residues have got any effect? Yes, it has got. In food safety, it causes food safety hazard. In food quality, it causes its own food quality hazards, and we have other hazards and implications. Now, in food safety, we were talking about the sensitivity and allergic reaction. Now, earlier, penicillin was one of the most sought after drugs. Now, penicillin, the indiscriminate use, I should say, of penicillin has got a lot of residues coming, and we ourselves have done a few trials where we found penicillin residues in milk after a treatment of mastitis. And this penicillin, 1 in 10,000, is known to cause anaphylactic shock in people. It causes neurotoxicity, it causes rashes, it sometimes causes even death. If you see, there are drugs called chloramphenicol, the residues of which are supposed to be carcinogenic. There are drugs like tetracyclines and oxytetra, which we commonly use, and these drugs are sometimes known to pass even the placental barrier. Imagine if a pregnant woman drinks it, it can pass the placenta and affect the child in the womb. In these cases, there are instances of pigmentation and there are instances of oncolysis. That is what we say the nails come off from the bed, the nails. So these are some of the sensitivity and allergic reaction when you use rampantly or indiscriminately. When we talk about food quality hazards, well, we don't have to say because we are all dairymen and we know what implication it will have if we use these residues. We use this kind of milk in the preparation of various fermented products or various cheese products. We are sure that we will not come up with the particular very good end results. And the other hazards which I was telling is suppose you are clubbed or you are branded as a firm which supplies milk or products with these residues, your financial reputation or consequences will be at doldrums and you may even be forced to face legal charges. So coming to mastitis, just a bit of it is this is one of the most prevalent and economically important disease, and this definitely needs intensive antimicrobial treatment if the animal is affected. However, there is this can be stalled. This entire malady of mastitis can be stalled if you follow or if the dairyman follows the strict CMP, that is the clean milk production, the way the animal should be maintained, the way animals should be looked after a lactating session. So if these are maintained, then I don't think there is any need, though it is just a very long procedure, but if these procedures are maintained to the hilt, there will be minimum amount of antimicrobial usage. Now, this antibiotic residues, they enter the milk supply once it is treated. And you might ask, yes, what do we do if there is mastitis? Definitely, if there is mastitis, the only alternative is you have to go in for some parenteral treatment and also for antibiotic treatment. But there is definitely something called as the withholding period. We have a withholding period of 72 hours. That is, for 72 hours, we do not milk that particular animal and put it in the mainstream. We definitely milk the animal, but we throw because we cannot hold the animal with the milk as such. We definitely milk, but we throw it off. We do not put it in the mainstream. So if it is found from various studies, and we've also conducted a lot of research to see that there is almost negligible residue after 72 hours. So the withholding period is very, very important. So as you see in the picture, we have a lot of drugs, penicillin, aminoglycosides, that's gentamicin, erythromycin, the fluoroglycosides, that's gentamicin, erythromycin, the fluoroquinolones, which are just coming up. So there are a lot of drugs which are coming into the market just to keep the livestock healthy, but you may also be aware that these definitely will find its residues in various secretions, which is the milk. So the first and more important thing which I would like to discuss here is the AMR or the antimicrobial resistance. The allergic reaction we've just gone through, saying about penicillin, about chloramphenicol, or about some of the sulfonamide drugs, whether it is for antibiotic treatment or if it's for deworming, everything must have a withholding period. The toxicity, the hypersensitivity, the carcinogen, the mutagenic effect, and of course, once the organism is taken, once the milk is taken with the residues, it will definitely have a say on your gastrointestinal microflora. Now, to talk about this AMR, antimicrobial resistance, why is it more important? Well, all bacteria, I'm sure you all must be knowing that they all have plasmids. All cells have plasmids. Bacteria also has plasmid. Now, this plasmid is a wonderful covalent substance because it has the genes which determines the resistance of antibiotics. It determines the resistance of antibiotics. That is very, very important. When we were probably 10 to 20 years back, we were all given amoxicillin, ampicillin, but now those drugs are obsolete. We don't get those drugs at all. Our doctors prescribe some higher versions, cephalosporins. We go for higher versions. We don't get those drugs at all. That's because our bacteria, because of this plasmid, they have started to adapt themselves and become more and more resistant. So imagine if they become resistant, what happens? They do not particularly work on that group of bacteria. Now, this resistance doesn't end here. Suppose drug bacteria A, let me say Salmonella A, which we all have Salmonella, we all have E. coli, all have Clostridium. All those organisms are there in our microflora. In our gut microflora, we have a plethora of microbes, but they all are in they are all commensal and they are all well balanced. Only when their balance is shaken, or only if any one of the organisms takes upper hand, then we have the symptoms of any disease. Now, suppose Salmonella has, let's say, it has got a plasmid which is resistant to ampicillin. So what happens? Because it is with a group of organisms, through the method of conjugation, I'm sure you must have, you can recollect, through the method of conjugation, this Salmonella will try to push its plasmid, which contains this resistance to ampicillin, to an other organism. Okay, so this might take, say, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So over a period of time, they start having this conjugation method of transferring the entire, system, the entire microbe system which you have in your gut, into getting resistance towards ampicillin. A classical example is your mosquito repellent mats. So earlier you have this good night mats and they work wonders. After a couple of years, you find them, you find the mosquito sitting on the mats. So you come up with a liquidizer, you come up with different compounds. The same thing happens. So now, so if at all that particular person has got any disease and ampicillin might be an answer to that. If he pops in that ampicillin, it's not going to work because the organism which was inside that has all become resistant. Okay, so this is how the super drugs or super bugs, I should say, this is how super bugs start developing. So over a period of years, we have started to develop resistance because our body, the organisms which we find, the different kinds of pathogenic organisms, they all have plasmids, so they all have started to develop resistance. And that's why we always say whenever you have any ailment, it's better to consult a physician and take a antimicrobial drug. Do not ever go and ask the pharmacy for at random because somebody says this drug, especially for antibiotics. Never purchase antibiotics. So this is a classical case of this MRSA with this methicillin resistant Staph aureus, which is a nosocomial disease that is you get from the hospital. So this Staph aureus is there in your nostrils, in your nails, in your hand, everywhere in your body. In your armpits, if you do not have a wash, you can have Staph aureus everywhere. Now, this Staph aureus in the hospital has got a plasmid which is resistant to methicillin, and this is one of the highest drug order. Imagine if you were to, that's why they tell you the aged people and the young children never to visit the hospitals. Imagine if you were to touch the hospital premises or hospital cards and you get this MRSA. Your MRSA, when it goes into your system, will transfer that methicillin resistant plasmid to all your bacteria.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, your voice is not clear and also slides are not moving, ma'am.
Oh yeah, I've come to the next slide.
Okay. I think.
My voice is not heard?
Yeah. It is breaking, ma'am.
Hello?
Yeah, as like before, it is breaking, ma'am. Voice is. Yeah.
Voice is it breaking?
Yeah, now it is
Can you hear
clear,
me?
ma'am. Yeah, now it is very clear.
Please check your internet connectivity also. I think because of that, maybe.
My internet is quite strong. I'm on ACT, so. Can I proceed or should I? Hello?
Yeah, sure. You can proceed, ma'am.
Yeah, you can proceed.
Or you
Now
do-
voice is.
You want me to use my Geo or something from the mobile and talk?
No need, ma'am. It's fine.
Now it is clear.
Now it's clear. Please go ahead, madam.
Please go ahead,
Okay.
madam. Now.
Can I have your screen in slideshow mode, no?
Yeah. Yes? Is it in slideshow? Hello?
No, ma'am. It is
Hello?
not in slideshow mode, ma'am.
Dr. Rita, it should be full screen.
Yes.
Yeah,
It is full-
because it is in full screen, sir. Mine is
Is
in
it
full
so?
screen. Yes, sir.
We are not getting the. Okay, you carry on.
Okay, sir. I'm sorry for this small hiccups.
Possible, make it a little enlarge it, ma'am. PPT size.
Sir, actually, in my laptop, it is in the slideshow.
Okay. Ma'am, can you use shortcut Shift plus F5?
Fine, you carry on.
Yes, I've used Shift plus F5. Sir? Hello? Are the slides moving, sir?
No, no, no.
Slides are moving, sir?
No, not moving.
No, ma'am, not moving, ma'am.
Actually, Kanna sir, I've sent you the slides. Would you like to share the slides?
One more moment, ma'am. Just I'll make it.
You want me to stop sharing?
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. You just do the stop sharing, ma'am.
Sir, can you hear me now?
One minute. Is it visible now, ma'am?
Yeah, it's visible.
1 minute.
How about my voice?
Is
How
that
about my voice?
Yes, perfect.
Now it's clear.
Okay.
this one, ma'am?
No, go to the 10th slide, sir. 10th one. Go,
Is the one, ma'am?
no, the next one, sir.
This one?
But the slide is not moving on my.
Now this is okay, ma'am. This is the present scenario slide is there.
No.
Okay, you're there, but it's not moving in my. No, not the present scenario. Previous one.
Why are residues present?
I'm not able to see the. It's an antimicrobial use in it's the
It
eighth
is
slide.
not.
Eighth
The
slide.
slides are not.
It's the
It
eighth
is
slide.
not.
Eighth slide.
The slides are not. Once
I have
again,
shared, sir. Already I have shared.
then share because we are not able to see the slides.
Okay, sir. 1 minute, 1 minute. Now it's okay, ma'am?
Yeah, it's fine.
Evidence
It's the eighth slide. Eighth slide, sir.
Okay.
Eighth one. Yeah, that's fine.
Is it a full screen, ma'am? Is it visible to all?
Yes, yes.
Yes, visible.
Visible.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. So, So I was talking about the methicillin-resistant staph aureus. We also have something called the vancomycin-resistant enterococcus. All these are known to cause, diseases which could affect the lung, which could affect the gastrointestinal tract. So these are sort of quite pathogenic diseases. So you may understand that the implication of these are much more than AIDS virus. So I also happened to see in one of the journal a case study wherein chicken were treated with tetracycline, and when they collected samples from the chicken intestines, especially the colon, with E. coli, they found E. coli to be resistant to tetracycline. And after 6 to 8 weeks, they found 31% of the farm hands also were having samples of E. coli resistant. And imagine if this 31% were to meet their kith and kin, they would also transfer this resistant E. coli, which is like a common sal, to many of the other population. So this is the potential hazard of AMR, which can, so you may ask how this is going to help. So prolonged use or prolonged residues in milk of these microbial substance or antibiotic residues may cause your organisms also to slowly develop resistance against this organism, against this particular antibiotics. Next slide, sir, please. So this is what we're talking. So the low and prolonged dosage could help in the propagation of resistant strains, and this is what I was telling about conjugation and plasmids. So there is every possibility of transfer of these plasmid genes to the other bacteria. There was also an interesting article on one of the Salmonella, strain, which we call as the Newport strain, which was having a particular gene called the black meat gene. Now, this black meat gene actually imparted resistance to almost 9 antimicrobials. And when they went back, they found this gene was got from Citrobacter. Now, Citrobacter, Klebsiella, which causes pneumonia, Salmonella, all these come protease, all which causes pneumonic respiratory disorders. They all come under one bacteria, under one family. And this Citrobacter had this black meat gene, which was transferred from the soil. Normally, you find Citrobacter in the soil and in the garden and in the vegetative areas. That got transferred from there to Salmonella. And from
Ma'am, PPT not coming, ma'am.
PPT? Hello?
PPT not coming, ma'am.
Kanna sir, someone has interfered. Again, you have to present it, sir.
Shall I continue?
Yeah.
Now coming, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So this black meat gene was found from Citrobacter. Now it is found in Salmonella. And imagine this Salmonella was found in chicken. And if this was to go on, because E. coli, they all come under one family, it's very easy to transfer. So this is the importance of your AMR, which we have to be very, very careful. The next slide, sir. So coming to the next slide, sir. So this AMR has got its own implication, which must definitely be dealt with. There is another important risk for milk processor. Sir, I think we can go to the next slide, sir.
Yeah, condenser, please.
I think, sir, it's not there. So we can. So there are also a couple of risks for milk processors, wherein when you get samples which contain, which has got residues of antibiotics, you do all the platform tests and you do the COB test and MBRT test, and you find the milk sample really good because the MBRT is more than 1 or 2 hours. But nevertheless, you do bacterification, you go do pasteurization, you finally go in for coagulation or fermentation, and you find the milk not coagulating when you're making cheese, or it does not have the desired lactic acid formation, desired flavor effects during ripening. You're going in for great economic loss. So this is the risk which many of the milk processors face when you have the residual antimicrobials or antibiotics being built up. Sir, can we have the next slide, sir? Why are residues present? Okay. So, why are residues present, sir? I don't find the slide moving. So why are sir? Can I continue or because are you moving the slide, sir? For me, Kanna, sir.
Slides is not shown at all. He has left the meeting like that. Message has come.
Ma'am, I think he has got some signal issues. Can you present?
Okay, I might.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll present because mine
Yes,
was. So is this okay, sir? Why are residues present? Is it seen, sir?
Yeah, it's visible now.
Yes, madam.
So why are residues present at all? The residues are present
Ma'am,
because you
please
do not
go to
have
the slide, ma'am.
because you're not having sufficient withholding period. You're not complying with the protocol wherein they say you have at least 72 hours of.
Please show the 10th slide.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I will present it to you. I will share it to you later. So if there is any withholding period problems, see in that situation you have residues present in milk. You may also have contamination of the bulk milk tank which you're procuring from the previous day's collection. There again you have residues present. And the foremost one is the bad management practices, because if you are treating, if you're having the treated animals also in the same shed, it is better that you milk them in the end and throw away the milk. And there is also a lot of discrepancies. There's a lot of miscommunication between the handler and also the milker. So they do not really tell that that animal has been, injected or treated. So probably there's a lot of miscommunication among them. So they really do not comply to the withholding period. So all these issues, though they are very small and very, very negligible, residues do form in the milk and milk products. So the present scenario is many unorganized, I wouldn't say organized, many unorganized dairies really do not find the need. So they might think it's just a residue. When you mix with the bulk, it all gets diluted. This is where the problem starts. Okay, so that is because there is a lack of awareness and also a lack of awareness of various detection kits. There are dime a dozen detection kits available, and government is making it available at every nook and cranny. And how you can get these kind of kits, especially the demo tests, you have to hold certain dairies which they should self-regulate these kind of tests. And I'm sure many of the dairies do this once in a week, testing for antibiotics, etc. And also there's a requirement to train certain quality personnel on how to detect these tests and read the tests, and even advice on how these residues can be minimized. So let's come to see now, if the residues are present, what is the effect of heat processing on antibiotic stability? Well, these depends on the concentration, on the chemical nature, that is on the concentration, whether it's on the first day or it's on the fourth day, how the concentration of antibiotics is reducing, the chemical nature, the kind of rings they have, the composition, whether it's more based on with the fat, or it's more adsorbed to the casein part of it, and the processing parameters, whether you're freezing it or you're sterilizing the milk, and also the kind of administration of drug which are listed out here, whether there is oil emulsion drugs, whether it has got an aqueous base or an oil base. So all these will have an effect. And also I read, and I was surprised to know that even buffalo milk is supposed to be more stable. That is, penicillin finds itself gets more stability in buffalo milk than in cow milk. And pasteurization, when you say, has got very little effect. So it has got only whole milk because of the fat percentage. Probably there's only 7%. Skim milk has got 11% reduction. So the effect of pasteurization is only this in 11% in skim milk. And in boiling, it's about 19% reduction. and in skim milk it is only 24%. So we are seeing here that penicillin has got a more affinity for fat and fat-based products. Some of the detection kits which are available are these microbiological kits where Bacillus stereothermophilus spores are used, especially in Delbo tests, wherein they use a particular dye or indicator called as bromocresol purple, and whenever there is a change in the indicator, whenever there is the growth of bacteria, that is the bacillus, then you have a change in the indicator. So they use agar, which is stuffed with bacillus, and they incubate it. And the suspected sample is added in this agar. So if there is any antibiotics, that means it will not allow the bacillus spore to germinate and to grow. So naturally, the color indicator will not change. So here, the bromocresol in an acidic medium turns yellow in color. So you do not find, this is the entire basic principle behind it. And if there is no antibiotics, then what happens? The bacillus is able to grow, and because it starts growing and utilizing little of the lactose, it converts the bromocresol to a yellow color, which is in an acidic medium. So this is the basic thing. And of course, you have a lot of enzyme tests done for enzymatic tests. You have a lot of chromatological tests like HPLC, TLC, GC, etc. And FSSAI has given in its section 16.2b lot of limits, tolerance. I should say as maximum tolerance limits like you have for cephalosporins, not more than 0.015 milligram per kg. Tetracyclines not more than 0.02 mg per kg. So there are a lot of specifications which are given. Now coming to the strategies that can be used to reduce the prevention of antimicrobial drugs. So there should be a government commitment and support that should be between the animal husbandry and the dairy development. So they should chalk up a program on what are the antibiotics to be used for livestock and what are the antibiotics which should not be used because there might be a lot of residues present which might end up having either AMR or carcinogenic effect. There should also be a surveillance system to note what are the probable disease which might be spreading, and for this probable disease, what are the permitted antimicrobials to be used. So there should be a strengthening of the infection control program. So more than treatment, let's go in for prevention and control. So there should also be more supportive research on new antimicrobials which might have very good target action but less residues. There should also be education, training, and motivation of stakeholders, and also there should be a kind of a sectoral development with the industry, with the pharma company, to come out with novel drugs which could help minimizing AMR and also coming up with quicker results. So definitely a list of critically important antimicrobial drugs for human health as well as for treatment of food-producing animals may be given so that future risk and future development of AMR may be curtailed. And there should be always technical support and capacity building in monitoring AMR. So a lot of pilot studies can be done to address the lack of data and for risk assessment in areas where you do not have, where you do not have data for the use of certain antimicrobial system. Iec campaigns, I feel, is very, very important because this is information, education, and communication system, especially for farmers and extension workers, wherein they can campaign on the use of certain protocols to reduce and minimize production diseases, and also in case if these diseases arise, how they should immediately, instead of going to quacks, immediately notify the concerned authorities to get the treatment done and also follow protocols if these are food animals. So I'm sure with all this supervision, the Indian scenario will be a better one. So this is all with antimicrobials, and then the next topic for the evening is on aflatoxin. Now, aflatoxin is, if this word has been doing the rounds from the year 1960s, but not catching much importance. The aflatoxin is nothing but it's a collective term for a group of, let's say, toxic and carcinogenic secondary metabolites of fungus, especially aspergillus and penicillin. Now, these fungus, these toxins, we call them as toxins, but we tell them as AFB1, B1, B2, G1, G2. It is simply said as B1, B2, G1, G2 because when you detect them under the UV fluorescent, you find as blue color. So these toxins were named as B1, B2. And when you saw them as green color, they were called as G1, G2. So I come up with a few statistics and I will tell you in the end why these statistics are so very relevant and so very important. The Tamil Nadu, in the last census, we are, because I'm restricting to Tamil Nadu, we are, of course, India is a number you know, and we've almost come up to 198.84 million tons with a per capita consumption of about 407 grams per day. Tamil Nadu is 10th in India in its milk production, and we are contributing about 83.62 lakh metric tons. And the per capita availability has increased from 267 in 2015-16 to 285 grams. And we are contributing about 4.6% of India's livestock population. 4.56, and that's a big number. And we also have the largest crossbred dairy animals, lots of animals wandering the street, very low input, low output too. But here we see that the feed and the forage are all compromised for a livestock sector. And we have only, I'm saying about the crossbred and the ones which the farmers have as a very minimum amount, maybe 2 or 3 with very, very minimum input and not so much maximum output. However, they just get their things done and they just get the feed for the cattle and they just move on without understanding what implication it would have if the feed was of not very good condition. These are mycotoxins, these are aspergillus. I put some photographs which look like, a nice bulb. And these are mutagenic, though they look very wonderful under the microscope. These mycotoxins are known to be carcinogenic, mutagenic, and teratogenic. So this has got great importance because of the word mutagenic and teratogenic. And if a pregnant woman was to drink this milk, it could easily pass the placenta and cause mutation or deformity in the babies. So because of the rise of such condition, this topic started gaining lots of importance. So it also is known to produce certain, toxicity, especially renal toxicity. So this is how your feed would look like if it's contaminated. You will find a lot of fungus, especially in the old stored groundnuts, peanuts. If you store it in your house too for a very long time, the figs, very good sources. The almonds, very good sources of aflatoxin. So if you find them, it's better not to dust and use it. Just throw it away because they can be very, very potent carcinogen. Now I will tell you how this M1, M2 is very important. Now B1, B2, G1, G2 are the secondary metabolites of this aspergillus. Now once this animal consumes the B1 and B2 toxins, and mind you, in all this, the B1 toxin is the most carcinogenic and the most toxic one. And once this the animal consumes, they say about 2.5 to about 6% of aspergillus is absorbed by the animal. If the sample, if your feed sample has got only 2.5 to 6% is absorbed, and this 2.5 to 6% creates lot of havoc. So about 0.6 of it is absorbed through the intestine. It goes to the liver, and there it gets converted. It gets the fourth carbon atom in the B1 molecules gets hydroxylated to a M1, another secondary metabolite. Okay, so in the hepatic microsome multifunctional oxidase system, in the presence of an enzyme called P450 cytochrome, this B1 gets hydroxylated, one of the carbon atoms gets hydroxylated to a lesser carcinogenic M1, not as carcinogenic as B1, but nevertheless, it is quite carcinogenic. Then you can imagine how B1 would be. Okay, so in the 1960s, they started doing a lot of work, and they found children who are affected with aflatoxin. When they started consuming, there's a reduction in growth, and they found milk. They found something in milk which caused it. So they said yes, milk and milk products could be one of the sources. And European Union and the Codex had come out promptly to say that milk and milk products should not exceed 50 nanograms per kg, and the US also have said it should not be more than 500 nanograms. And India, in all food articles, we say not more than 30, which includes lot of nuts and seeds. So whenever you go and buy nuts, seeds, especially the dried figs, you've got to be very, very careful with aflatoxin, because it's not very commonly seen with the naked eye. Only when you see very close, you might have lots of nuts, and this, when you see the wholesale market, will definitely have a lot of aflatoxin in it. So the M1 in milk, it should not be more than 0.5 microgram per kg. The taurine, which is mostly seen, again, it's a toxin from aspergillus and also from penicillin, patchoulin. And this you will find lots in rotten apples. So you will find in apple beverages, apple juices, which you get. So we have to use our own discretion. I'm not saying all the apples have got, but these are the reports which say. So they should not exceed 15 microgram per kg. You also have ochratoxin, which is you find in a lot of wheat, barley, rye, oats. So they also should not have more than 20 microgram per kg. So let's have a look on the effect of processing on AFM. So since it is processed in very many ways, they have done a few treatments, and happen to see some of the journals where they say cold treatment is good, but there's only 11%, 25% reduction if you are storing it at 5 degrees centigrade, and if it's at 0 degrees, you have 40% reduction. You have reduction of about 80% if you store at 0 degrees centigrade. So freezing to some amount reduces, but we cannot say freezing is altogether, because we cannot keep our raw milk frozen for a very, very long time. Heating, there have been a lot of reports coming up. They say there is about, some of the reports say LTLG reduces of type, there's a reduction of about 45%. Sterilization, there's a reduction of 24%. Some of these journals say there's a reduction of 80%. And they say boiling, of course, boiling is supposed to also gets it down to about 14%. So there are a lot of and lots of deliberation on this. And one thing for sure is AFM1, that is the milk toxin M1, is closely bound to casein. So casein, when they've done trials with buttermilk or with cream separation, they found the M1 contained more in skim milk because of casein, and also with buttermilk, and less in fat. There are also a few trials done by some of the learned scholars who found that UV and a combination of UV and hydrogen peroxide, especially in cheese, some of the feta cheese, they found there was quite a lot of reduction of M1. So they said that UV along with hydrogen peroxide treatment could be better for in ripening rooms. They also said that some amount of carbon dioxide help germination, but very strong concentration of carbon dioxide in ripening rooms especially reduce the effect of M1. So they came to a conclusion that carbon dioxide could be a good source for reducing in case of products which we are supposed to have. There are some seasonal influences of M1, of course. So they found that M1 comes mainly from B1 that we know, and B1 is mostly seen during winter seasons, because in winter we feed the cattle more. They are mostly indoors, and we give them more of concentrate. And there too, the storage is done not in very hygienic conditions. So the incidence of B1 in feed and the M1 and the concurrent M1 in milk is more during winter season. And they've also said that environment, when the humidity is 50 to 60% and also a moisture of 13 to 18%, has definitely a say on the growth. So this aflatoxin grows only when there is it has got a log, lag, and a stationary phase. So the stationary phase is the phase wherein it is compromised. There is not much of what do I say, conducive environment. There is not much of nutrient, or they are compromised in their temperature or humidity. And it is at this stage that they start producing metabolites, that is the P1. So when you store them in adequate condition, when you aerate them and when you keep them in good condition, there is no probability of this B1 developing. So if by look into the downstream, when you can control in the upstream and control B1, you do not have the M1 coming at all into the milk. Okay, so you have a lot of other detection techniques which we are now having a lot of one, like thin layer chromatography, HPLC, enzyme link, rapid tests, lot of strip tests are coming one with readers, etc. Some of the remedial measures which they said is in silage, especially when you're going to use, let's use a lot of lactic acid and Saccharomyces yeast, because they find that this the cell walls of the cell to extract the B1, they're able to bind to the B1, making it unavailable for it to enter into the hepatic system. Only if it enters the hepatic system, it gets decarboxylated and you get M1. So they do not allow it to. So they allow it to be, ruminated, and then it gets defecated outside. So they have a property of binding. Okay, and there are also a lot of reports where they say when you are going in for crop rotation, why don't you have a rotation of crop? Why don't you have a mixture of organisms, like you have the old traditional method of rotation of crop, lot of other organisms present. So they will compete with space, allow this aspergillus to grow in the soil. So if it has to come from the soil itself, it can stop. In the feed chain, corn silage is one of the vulnerable ones. So what they say in corn silage, add a lot of lactic acid bacteria. Do not delay the delayed harvesting of corn may be one of the reason, and the moisture content can be the reason. If you delay the corn harvest, then you have a lot of breaking of cobs and the grain. So you prevent all that, then you do not have fungus setting in. And also during rainy season and wet season, see to it that they are always transported under very good conditions so that they do not get wet for the moisture to be followed. So the gentle management and control strategies for aflatoxin will be good agriculture practices, timely planting, provide adequate plant nutrition, control the weeds, and have crop rotation. Soil contamination by aspergillus spores is normally increased by these modern technologies which have come into play, the modern irrigation system, but the modern equipment, though they are boon to our industry, but then there should be a mixture of both traditional and modern, just to see that such kind of calamity, such kind of metabolites or such kind of pathogenic fungi do not grow. So if this upstream can be controlled, then the downstream M toxin can definitely be controlled. There will not be any rejection of milk, etc. In the Indian scenario, I was telling about the statistics. We have a huge population. We have a very, very huge population. We have somewhere about 308 million cattle. A buffalo population is somewhere about 108 million. So we have lots and lots of animals, and we are quite wealthy. But sadly, many of our farmers give very low input. So in this low input, let's not give our animals. Let's understand the fact, or make through IEC understand the fact that how these secondary metabolites, how these small microorganisms, which are really small, but they matter more, because when they come into the system, into the food system, then the entire system, the entire food system gets affected. So the scarcity of feed resources will be there. But then through proper IEC, we can make them understand and not compromise on safety. So what more can be done is, of course, the FSSI has consolidated and given us a lot of inputs on this. We can spread the word on the importance of AF-MI, on the more important detection techniques, make the detection techniques available so that people will be more aware that they can be detected, and the things to be done to prevent the downstream of MI. And the permissible limit for M1 is about 0.5 microgram per kg. So we have to also have certain biomarkers, because we said casein is a very good, it absorbs with the M1. So you always find M1 with casein. So casein, new research or further research, genetic research can be done, wherein casein can be used as a biomarker to trace M1. So the other, some of the other small things which we can just pay attention to is the ideal temperature is 28 to 30. Now, this is the temperature where aflatoxin grows. So the temperature of less than that will not permit the growth or the production of the secondary metabolite. So let's prepare products, or especially feed, not the milk product. Let's have the feed products done, or feed, system done to produce hay or silage or all these things. Let it be done at a conducive temperature, so it does not permit the aflatoxin to start growing and expressing itself as metabolites. And the harvest, the corn cobs should always be done when they are fully mature, so their moisture percent is less and they are not sufficient for the aflatoxin to grow. And again, I've said carbon dioxide is wonderful because all fungi are all aerobic organisms, so you use a lot of fumigation. So this will prevent the growth of fungi. And some of the prophylactic measures, lactating feed can be, cattle feed can have not more than 20 ppb. So this is a strict measure because we cannot wish aflatoxin away. They are going to be there because we have a diverse climatic condition, we have a diverse population, we have diverse farming system. So we cannot wish them away, but however we can cut it down. So have will not be more than 20 ppb. We can use a lot of clay binders, charcoal activators, charcoal binders, hydrated sodium, calcium, aluminosilicate, not more than 225 grams per day. These are calcium binders which go and bind to B1 when the animal takes in. So you can mix it with feed and give it. So when the animal takes this, binds this B1 or this calcium HSCA binds to the B1. So it doesn't make it available for the B1 to enter the hepatic cycle, hepatic system. So it gets defecated. So these are some of the, of course, you cannot give too much of. So not more than 225 grams per day. That is the thumb rule. So there are many charcoals, activated carbons, activated silicates, zeolites, which are available in the feed now in the animal nutrition practice. So they can be used, especially Propionibacterium, wherein they are known to bind, because they take the B1 to, they bind to their cell wall. They help in strengthening their cell wall. So these are some of the tests which were done in the lab. So these can be used like Saccharomyces. They also, these yeast which are being used, which we call as the, which we use for bakery, etc. These can be used for, B1. So this slide which I'm showing, which is one of my last slides, One Health program, which we've been talking and screaming in the last couple of years. One Health program is so very relevant today, and also it's going to be relevant throughout. You want to stay happy, you see that you do not pollute the environment, you keep the environment happy. Don't, whenever you intervene or come up with any particular intervention, be careful to see that it will definitely have its marking in any of the food animals on which you thrive, on which you depend. So it's going to be a big vicious circle where these toxins and contaminants will be doing the rounds. So you have a social responsibility towards the environment. You have a social responsibility towards mankind and also animals. You keep them all under the. You just follow the protocols which are to be given, and I'm sure this world will be a wonderful place to live in. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Any questions? Any questions?
Rita?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Charles, sir, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, it's a good presentation. You have covered all the aspects.
Thank you very much.
I am interested in one or two points which you mentioned about effect of processing of milk in controlling AFM1. You were talked about cold process, hot process, etc., etc. Okay, and limit is 0.5 kilogram kg. Perhaps you might be aware, recently, last couple of months, we have been receiving some, information from the FSSA that the flavored milk, sterilized flavored milk, sold through bottles contain M1, and the limit was exceeded by.
Sir, hello, sir. You're just breaking, sir.
And it has
Hello, sir.
It has touched even 1.0. Now, when you talk about all these kind of processes for hot sterilization, thermization, so many things we are talking. But
Yes.
still, this aflatoxin, it's very difficult to eradicate it from the milk or remove it from the milk completely. So the industry is facing a problem as of now because they have no control over feeding of animals, because our milk production is by masses. It is not mass production. So as a result, I think the research institute should work out some, methodology to avoid or to eliminate this AFM1 from the milk, so that the industry will be benefited. That is only my point.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. That's actually a very welcome suggestion.
Ramesha is also listening. I think NDRI, this is also a request to NDRI. The second important point you have mentioned about the ideal temperature for this M1 is 28 to 30 degrees centigrade. This very clearly indicates that cold chain is another important aspect which the industry has to adopt very strictly so that it can be applied. I think these are only my 2 points from your presentation. Otherwise, you have covered all the points and it was really interesting one. Maybe the industry people, I could see a lot of people from the quality control department and also from the production department. They will be definitely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks, sir. Yes.
Yes, madam. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, bacterification. So the bacterification can that help the control of this process, control of the residues.
No, so bacterification will only separate according to the weight or let's say the difference in specific gravity and so it's more on the spores or the physical contaminant which we really cannot see, but not on toxins and residues, sir. That is not possible, sir.
And it is the process is not helping in control of this.
No, sir, that process is not. As far as what we read, we say that you first control the upstream one, control B1. Control B1, but of course, I was telling you that our dairy itself is a low input. So it's very difficult. It'll take some time. We'll have to educate on how to store. Because when I myself was in Tanjavur, it's so easy to talk from the classroom and from a lab. But when I went for some of the villages, when I was posted at Tanjavur, I was shocked to see how they stay. Because we say the cow must be in a stable and a shed with thatch roof, and there's nothing like that. They just stay outside. The farmers themselves are not in so very good condition. So all things which we say from the lab and from the rooms are completely different. That's why we insist on IEC, sir. Go there. Probably they're not really aware of the potential threat their actions might face. Probably we'll have to make them more aware, give them more, sir, detecting techniques, give them more understanding on how the food or feed should be stored.
Yeah,
So,
it is true that. Yeah, it is true that if you go to farmer's place,
yes, sir.
experiencing all that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That is it. You rightly pointed out
Yes.
that the awareness
And our
can be
Indian
made.
scenario is that, sir, we find a rotten a worm in one part of the brinjal or one, we
Yes,
just cut that off and use the rest. So
Yes, yes,
these
yes.
kind of things are have to be extrapolated to the farmers.
Yes, it's happening. Right. Anyway, thank you.
Madam, just to stop presentation, you can come out,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes, definitely.
Madam, I am Dr. Ramesha speaking from NDRI Bangalore. Congratulations
Yes,
for the nice
evening.
presentation.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
I have one or two observations. First, in
Yes.
the first observation, it is in the one of the slides you showed the percentage of livestock and the milk production, and it is in the Tamilnadu is in 10th position.
Yes.
And low input and low output system. That means, in spite of having crossbred highest number in Tamil Nadu, still low input, low output system.
Yes, sir.
That is somewhat contrary to the beliefs, general beliefs. And you are in the 10th position that clearly matches with this input output system, low input and output. And the second one I wanted to know, is there any cow side test or when you are purchasing the milk, where you can identify the aflatoxin? Laboratory test and other things, I am aware of it. Cow side can we identify so that it can be rejected at the cow side itself?
There are a lot of small tests with readers and all coming up, sir, with strip tests. They just use, and there are a lot of indicators. But as of now, they're not being much used, sir, because we had a couple of dairies who were saying that they would like to buy that and give in the societies, so they would check at the point and just, but that didn't materialize as such, sir.
I also arranged one webinar last year about this topic in USA. From somebody from USA presented it. At that time, he was also telling the accuracy of those tests are very low. That is what any development during this year, 2021, if anything is there, I'd like to know. Thank you, madam, for the nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
I think Dr. Ramesh asked the question, why in Tamil Nadu the milk production is, though we have, in fact, I am preparing a paper. Recently, I started this work, and I find that, see, around there are, of the milk animal, we have highest population of female. But of the female in milk or milk animal or the milk, what you call it, who are productive animals are only 36%. So there is an issue here, maybe due to low input, low output, or whatever it may be. But over the past decade, as per the Government of India report, the growth in milk production in Tamil Nadu was the lowest among the most, prospering states. It was only 3.2% per annum. Whereas other states, you would find that in the graph, more than 10%, 8%, etc. I think there is a serious problem in this aspect. So my only request to Shanwas is that they have to come out with a good paper. Paper written by us, I am a retired person, will not have any value. They should write a paper, make a paper and put up to the government and see that the new production in the state, it was 7th position, now it has come to 10th position. I do not know how it will behave in the future. Though with a lot of governmental programs, we are not in a position to increase the what you call it, the productivity of the animal. So this is another aspect. And the second aspect is the feeding issues. She rightly pointed out that there should be some education program at extension program at the village level, so that the farmers should be taught very specifically about how to feed, especially this time. What happens when they keep the fodder, when they dry the fodder and keep it outside, and once the unseasoned grain, that definitely there will be a function. So this is how it is happening. So I find some of the farmers who are having more animals, 10 plus animals, they just cover this, heap with tarpaulin, so that it is not getting affected by rain. That's some of the small things you can inform them through many media.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
So prevention is better than curing. Of course, rather than addressing how we can remove the MF, one or whatever it may be, let's just prevent it at the entry level itself. Thank you.
Sir, Chairman, sir, IDH South Zone, sir, I am supplementing one more point, sir, with reference to feeding of animals, sir. Now FSSA has directed all the feed manufacturers to comply with the standards, especially those commercial feeds and fodders which are meant for animal feeding. They should comply with the BAS standards and should make a logo or mark on the feed bag, so that it should be comply with the aflatoxin or any residue standards. In December 2019, FSSA has issued order and asked all the feed manufacturers to comply the standards within 6 months. Probably now all the feed manufacturers may adhere to that BS standards, I hope, sir.
I understand it is from July 1st now. It was it is made mandatory from July.
Yes, sir. It is from July 1st, sir.
July 1st, yes.
This is Rajendra Murthy. The question to Ritama, maybe others also can answer. So first question is in US they have set the aflatoxin M1 limit of 0.5 ppb, whereas Europe has set at 50 ppt. So I'm trying to understand, there are two different levels set by different countries. Why we adopted 0.5 ppb? Why not 50 ppt? So that is my first question. And my second question is to get rid of M1, we have to concentrate more on removing B1. But looks like in Indian context, the level of aflatoxin B1 is alarming. To a certain extent, we can mitigate it through the help of toxin binders. So why there is no research concentrated on removing M1 in the milk itself? Is there any regulation stopping us doing that? So I want to just get an insight from all of you. The experts can probably give me a better answer.
I'll just take the second part of the question. When M1 is a teratogenic component, they have of course tried all the processing techniques and they have not come up with very good results. But then adding something to milk, and then taking it away from it is quite difficult. Or if you add something to it and see that it binds in the form of some enzymes or something, then you really call that, it becomes something like a part of an adulteration. Okay, so it's not so easy. We wish it could be that easy as adding something and just removing it off. It's not that easy. So that's why we insist more on the upstream control the feed. So you don't have to control. Of course, various processing techniques like Sir was talking about bacterifugation and other things are not going to be of much help, especially in fluid. And we also said that M1 is always with casein. So we are hoping that there might be some biomarkers which could help in detection of the quantity of M1. So the best alternative, what we find, is pooling of milk from places where there is less of M1 or probably negligible M1. Pool it and see that the level is like 0.5 microgram per kg. So I think that is the best thing I could come up with. Sir, anybody else would like to supplement on that, sir?
Anyway,
I think Dr. can throw some light on it. Yes, that's all work on it.
Yeah, good evening, sir, and Madam, hearty congratulations for the excellent presentation. And more than presentation, we are worried about your cough. Take care of your cough. So please take care. Yeah. So my suggestion, animal nutritionist, we did a good amount of work at NNP also. So one is the moisture control, as madam has already told, and use of binders and the storage practices. So these are the main, and use of antifungal agents. Addition of urea itself, maybe 1% of urea is allowed in the concentrate mixture. So it has an additional advantage of controlling the aspergillus fungus. So these strategies will help. So if the toxin level is more, at the use of binders, very good binders are there. HSCS, silicated binders, charcoal. So this is one approach. We eliminate aflatoxin B1 from the feed, so that M1 content will be reduced. Yeah, this is my suggestion.
What is the cost of binders? Why people are not using much? What is the rationale?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, they're using, sir, in poultry. I think whether permissible level, they just add. So in dairy is also the practices started. But yeah, but in dairy, yeah, it should. Yeah, cost I'm not very sure, but is the level of addition is very small, just 0.05% and all. So it may not be very costly affair. So I think see, it should be judiciously used. One is the season and the level present in the feed, and the area and what are the ingredients they used. Like suppose groundnut cake, maize, the proportion is more in the feed, then they should go for binders. And always they should analyze the ingredients before making the mixture. So then only they have to add, so that the permissible level will be maintained. So toxin binder, I think it is one option. So in some areas, suppose these hot humid regions, so toxin production will be there in spite of control measures. So toxin production will be there. So then in these regions, so this practice of adding binders, antifungal agents like small amount of urea for ruminants and the sodium bisulfate. So there are even turmeric. When turmeric powder is antifungal, to some extent that can be added. So these strategies definitely will help in our tropical climate.
So, any other questions from the participants?
I think Ram, we can.
Yes, sir. Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It is a very excellent presentation, and on behalf of our team and all the participants, we wish you a speedy recovery, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
And now I formally invite our secretary to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to all. I deem it a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this seminar such a resounding success. I would like to thank our distinguished speaker, Dr. Rita Narayanan, Professor and Head, Department of Food Processing Technology, College of Food and Dairy Technology, Kuduvali, for making excellent presentation on aflatoxin in milk and antibiotic residues in milk, making this seminar interesting and meaningful. I thank our IDA South Zone Chairman and our beloved Tamilnadu Chairman for being with us for today's seminar. I am happy to express vote of thanks to our executive team members who have made this seminar a grand success. Finally, I thank all members, veterinarian students, farmers, who are all being with us for today's seminar. Once again, I thank all for your cordial cooperation. And in this pandemic COVID-19 situation, stay safe, stay healthy. Madam, take care of your health also.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Anal. Thank you. Please,
Thank you.
stay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.